Welcome back. The Institute of Security Studies is calling on the Government of National Unity to prioritise reforming and improving the country's policing over the next 5 years. The ISS says its concern over the state of policing in the country stems from the rising rate in violent crime and the decline in public safety. This week, the ISS launched a set of proposals on how this can be achieved. To discuss, we are now joined by David Bruce, who is a consultant at the ISS. David, thank you so much for joining us this morning. Now, the Hawks are set to give an update, a media update this morning shortly, soon, actually, I think at about 10 o'clock, on the progress in the last quarter. What are you expecting or also hoping to hear?
Well, the Hawks mandate is quite a broad mandate. It includes issues of serious corruption, serious organized crime, and serious financial crime. And so I assume that we're going to be hearing a bit of detail on the progress that it's making in various investigations in each of those fields.
Now, David, since around 2012, the ISS has expressed concern about the decline in organizational performance of the SAPS. Tell us about that decline since 2012.
Right. Well, you know, the most visible and obvious indicator of that decline is the one thing is a steadily increasing murder rate and steadily increasing number of murders. So since 2012, the number of murders in South Africa has increased by 77% to over 27,000 per year. That puts South Africa's per capita murder rate at one of the highest that's known murder rates in the world. And so alongside that, you know, the one straightforward indicator is simply the detection rate, the number of murder cases that are solved by the police. And so during the same period, that's clearly declined to something like 12.5%. So, sorry, 14.5%. So you know, there are, you know, another one would be public trust in the police. So, for instance, recent public surveys indicate very low public trust in the police. And one of the, you know, fundamentals of policing in a society such as ours is that the police need public cooperation. And with very little public trust, it's unlikely that the police can work effectively.
Yeah, and in your report as well, you speak about the recommendations to strengthen the SAPS. What would some of those solutions be that you recommend?
Well, you see, I think the overall thing is that one needs to understand the complexity of the SAPS, that the SAPS is a very large organization, that it performs quite a diverse range of different functions. And so our recommendations, so we've been looking into this for some time and, you know, and engaged with many people about the issue. And insofar as you engage with people on this issue, what you find is an incredibly diverse range of different issues that people raise when they, you know, when you ask them what they think are the main issues or problems that need to be fixed with the police. So the key thing to understand about our proposals is that what we've tried to formulate is a strategic approach with key issues. So it isn't that we can fix everything overnight, or, you know, and what we're trying to put on the table is an approach which highlights critical issues which need to be addressed in order for us to have greater kind of forward movement in strengthening our policing system.
One of the practical recommendations that you give as well, David, when you're talking about focusing on reforming the police service, particularly for the 7th administration and this new government of national unity, you talk about firearm and crime violence that should be the initial focus on this, focusing on crimes. Now, one of our reporters as well, Linda Mnisi, has done an amazing package just talking about the state of crime in this country and attributing firearms that are mostly accused for murders in Gauteng those are the ones that are the ones who are attributing for murders, which is firearms, and then second to that comes knives. What should you're talking about a focus on firearms. How do we then go about that? Also considering that it is the #1 weapon that is used in this province, at least, for murder.
Right. So one point there is just that when we're talking about the type of political leadership that government has been providing to the police, one of the things that we've observed is that there isn't ever a clear sense of direction in terms of the priorities of the police. And the reality of the situation in South Africa is also that the crime problem is itself quite complex. There's many facets to it. So, when we're saying that the police should, above all else, prioritize firearm crime and violence, it's not that we're dismissive or ignorant of the various aspects of the crime problem that also call for urgent attention. But as you pointed to, it's something that particularly applies in some provinces. That the provinces with the highest murder rates, in those provinces, murder is driven by firearm violence. And so the one, primary step that we just, calling on the police to take is to just clearly map where this firearm violence is taking place so that you can use police resources in a focused and precise way in order to tackle the problem.
And I guess that would also require better intelligence as well, which is something that's in your proposal that you speak of as well, bolstering crime intelligence, but also a focus on high police corruption and criminality needs to be focused on.
Yeah, that's right. And so, the one obvious point which goes back to the issue of public trust is that insofar as members of the public believe that, so for instance, police are colluding with criminals and so on, it's unlikely that they're going to be willing to provide information to the police. And so, it's in order to improve public confidence in the police, what we're arguing is that the one critical step that also needs to be taken is there needs to be a far more decisive response to police corruption.
In your professional view, David, our next police minister, if we are to take our president's word that will be announced on Mandela Day next month, our next police minister, what kind of qualifications, attributes should they have to be able to tackle this complex issue of crime?
Well, you see, what we've had, the problem that we've had, and in some ways what these proposals are a response to, is that for quite a long time now, what we've had is a situation where government has relied on a kind of standard formula for dealing with questions about strengthening the police system. Basically, the main element of their approach has always been that we need to recruit more police. The whole question of what one might call modernizing the policing system, taking account the advances in kind of information technology, in artificial intelligence and so on, trying to considerably strengthen the police, the skills base within the police service, so that, for instance, complex forms of crime, specialized forms of investigation, that the police are are more capable of confronting those challenges. And so, in some ways what we need is a police minister who is willing to, because as we've said, in many ways these issues are quite complex. The SAPS is a complex organization, and there isn't a kind of quick fix way of strengthening the police and the policing system in South Africa. But what we need is a minister who's willing to take on and work with these policy questions and take a strategic approach to strengthening the police. Give his backing to, give his or her backing to, let's just put it that way, a strategic approach to strengthening the police.
Yeah, we are looking forward to finding out who that person will be once that cabinet announcement has been made. Thank you so much for your time. That was David Bruce, who is a consultant at the ISS.